Oh, brother, am I running behind today? I woke up, I sent my wife off to work, or saw my wife off to work, and then I fell back to sleep. I'm in studio now, so let's go.
On your mark, get set. Let's go.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up?
Good morning. Kevin Durant, you should have left California.
This Brownsexual upset me in having to bring this teenage idiot from Wisconsin into a sports conversation. Are you really surprised that the Cowboys are giving up on Ezekiel Elliott?
Whoa. Hell no! Well, no one cares about baseball.
Bitch, are you for real?
It may not be Victory Monday, but it's a victory for me because I'm alive, I am well, and I get to talk sports with you guys. And I know I'm going to receive a lot of mess from you guys this morning, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hanging out with y'all, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of hours. With that in mind, I say unto you, good morning. Welcome to the Manic Monday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Glad to have y'all with us. I am feeling a lot better because I had a lot of people check in with me over the course of the weekend, and they said, Snowman, we were thinking about you because we heard your call on Friday with Colorado and with Colorado and Stanford. And you were whispering a lot. Well, A, my wife was asleep, and B, I was battling the remnants of a cold. The cough would not leave me alone. I swear to God, the cough would not leave me alone. But got over all of that. I am here, and I am ready. And usually we proceed with the whip around, but before we get to the whip around, I have a special present for a very, very dear friend of mine down in Jacksonville, Florida. And I think we're going to institute this before we get started with the whip around. It's called the Call of the Day, presented by Cricket. Time now for our Cricket Wireless Call of the Day, presented by Cricket Wireless, the official wireless carrier of Snowman Multimedia.
Here's the ball game here. Takes the snap. Russell back to pass. Russell looking. Russell's going to throw near side. This one is going to be tipped. It is. Did he make the catch? Gone! Touchdown, Ravens! Touchdown, Tigers! Touchdown, Tigers! Touchdown, Tigers! Isaiah McCorker! Are you kidding me? The Hail Mary is answered! Isaiah McCorker! Touchdown, Edward Waters! Oh my goodness!
That's our Cricket Wireless call of the day, presented by Cricket Wireless, the official wireless carrier of Snowman Multimedia. The video comes courtesy of ESPN Plus, and the radio call comes courtesy of the Edward Waters Sports Network. And my dear friend Joshua Jackson was on the call. I was driving when I heard that call. I was driving home from work. I heard that call and I screamed at the top of my lungs because I had hoped. I listened to the entire fourth quarter at work and then listened to it on the way home from work. And I was hoping that they would get a miracle call. And I'm hoping also either tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll lead off the show with Joshua Jackson on the air with me to talk about that call and about his brilliant career. So congratulations to Edward Waters. They've won 4 in a row, and congratulations to Joshua Jackson in his 16th year as the voice of Edward Waters. Now let's get down to business. Here's the whip around. Around this morning, of course, is brought to you by Fanatics, officially licensed everything. The New York Liberty has forced a Game 4 in the WNBA World Championship Series with an 87-73 win. And that I just may have to mess around and call Game 4 of this final series. I tell you what, schedule update. If time permits, not only will I call Game 4 of this series, I will also call Game 5. Again, it's dependent on time. But the Liberty have forced the Game 4. It'll occur at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Then there's the curious case of Justin Fields. Justin Fields was knocked out of yesterday's game against the Vikings with a hand injury. Tyson Bagent stepped in and got beat up. Well, not a lot of Bear fans are going to like my next sentence, but so long, Justin Fields. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. Let's move on. Now you have, as Mike Debate would say best, my paisan Jimmy Garoppolo, starting quarterback for the Raiders, was taken to the hospital with a back injury. Ouch. How unlucky can it get for the Los Angeles Raiders? And yes, I purposely said Los Angeles Raiders. Ugh. Calais Campbell has reason to celebrate as he collected his 100th sack of his career. Congratulations to Calais Campbell. That is a milestone and a half. Congratulations. Oops. Live editing. Now I'll move on to this. Washington Redskins left tackle Charles Leno Jr. sits out the game against the Falcons after his wife's miscarriage. And I've been there in losing a child, and man, so much goes on in your so much goes on in your head. Many prayers to Charles Leno and his wife, and hoping everything turns around for you, my friend. Our prayers from here go out to you, and our condolences go out to you as well. Anthony Richardson makes a Colts fans day. According to USA Today, Trace McMillan, a freelance journalist for Fox and CBS TV station, CBS's local affiliates, posted to Twitter on Thursday that his fiance invited Richardson to their house for the birthday festivities. The rookie quarterback showed up hung out with McMillan and his family, and signed a jersey as an extra birthday gift. Words can't describe how thrilling this moment is for myself to share with my loved ones. Wow. That is so, so cool. And Anthony Richardson is indeed endearing himself to the city of Indianapolis, Indiana. I love it. I absolutely adore it. That is the whip around for this morning, presented by Fanatics. Couple of minutes. There are no more unbeatens in the NFL as they both got beat up, beat down, and defeated. Talk about that and more as Ryan McCarthy will join at the bottom of the hour to talk all things CFL. What? Yeah. And a little bit of Jets conversation. You're inside the best sports show on the planet, Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Back in 2.
Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Poppy J and Wise El Jefe. Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
I keep forgetting I turned that off during the break. Welcome back to Snowman in the Morning on this Monday. We are presented by BetUS.com. Sports bettors, listen up. BetUS.com is back in our 30th year of betting action. And if you sign up now and use the code Snowman, you will get a 125% deposit match on your deposit. Log on to BETUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BET-US. BetUS.com, where the game begins. A Pizzle 90 is our first commenter of the morning. He says, good morning, and good morning to you from West Palm Beach, Florida. Indeed, how about those Miami Dolphins? Matter of fact, let's just go over all of the scores from Sunday. Tonight, Monday Night Football features the Dallas Cowboys and the San Diego Chargers. We'll do a preview of that a little bit later. The week started Thursday with the Chiefs beating the Broncos 19-8. Then Sunday morning kicked off in London, where Baltimore beat Tennessee 24-16. Redskins over Atlanta by the same score. It was the Bengals over the Seahawks 17-13. Jacksonville continues the mastery over Indianapolis 37-20. Miami 42, Carolina 21. Vikings over the Bears 19-13. The 49ers are undefeated no more as they beat the Browns 19-17. More on that in just a moment. And the Houston Texans defeated the New Orleans Saints, and Houston grabs the lead in the AFC South. That might not be such a tank division after all. 20-13 is the final score of that game. The Los Angeles Raiders beat the New England Patriots 21-17. The Detroit Lions easily handled the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that final 20-6. The Los Angeles Rams beat the St. Louis Cardinals 26-9. The New York Jets beat the Philadelphia Eagles 20-14. And on Sunday Night Football, it's the Buffalo Bills 14 and the New York Football Giants 9. So the Giants only got 3 field goals and unable to do any more. Tonight, the San Diego Chargers at 2-2 host the Dallas Cowboys at 3-2. And I picked the Chargers. I picked the San Diego Superchargers to win this game, and I hope they do. Speaking of which, I had very, very high hopes for the San Francisco 49ers, and unfortunately, they went down to a very good Cleveland Browns team by a final of 19-17. Jake Moody had a chance to send the 49ers home with a victory, but he missed a 41-yard field goal wide to the right. Now, what can I say about this game is that the Browns, after the first drive of the game, took the fight to the 49ers. They out-physicaled them. They beat them up. Christian McCaffrey left with an injury. Deebo Samuel left with an injury. I mean, they took it to him. They took it to him. Let me call a spade, and let me be totally real. Oh, and for all of you fools that think I am not critical of my team, A, you haven't listened to this show before, and B, you don't know me very well, do you? I am very critical of my team, and I call them out when I call them out. When they need to be called out. I beg your pardon. They had so many chances, the 49ers, to put the Browns away, but one of the biggest plays was 2 of them. One, the Niners missed a field goal after an interception, so they did not get a chance to turn that. They did not turn that into points. That was huge. 2, they did not allow the 49ers any points before the half and kept the lead at 10-7, at 10-7. The Browns eventually snatched the lead 13-10, which was the first time the 49ers had ever trailed in the second half. But then De'Amon Lenore picked off a pass, set up an easy touchdown run for Jordan Mason. Niners go up 17-13. But then that Niners defense that is otherworldly on many occasions was not in the second half. And they began the game without one of their key players in Dre Greenlaw. Because when you look at that game against the Browns, the 49ers were gashed on the ground. 87 yards by Trey Moore, okay? And he ran right in the area where Dre Greenlaw was missing. Which was right up the middle. They got gashed, okay? The key for the 49ers right now, and congrats to the Browns, okay? Congrats to the Browns. They did what they were supposed to do. They defended the home turf. They shut all the haters up, myself included. At least for a week they did. And PJ Walker somehow played well, even though he threw two interceptions, okay? Even with all the mistakes the 49ers were making, including 11 penalties for 102 yards, that That's one of the most undisciplined games I've ever seen the 49ers play in a long time. And this is including the Jim Harbaugh era, the Tomasula era, however the hell you pronounce his name. He won a European Football League title recently. The Chip Kelly era. Okay, this is even during the dark ages where the Niners were nothing but undisciplined. This is the most undisciplined game I've seen them play under Kyle Shanahan in a long time. And the Browns took full advantage of every mistake the 49ers made, including Brock Purdy's first interception. Pressure bust pipes. Period. And they put a lot of pressure on Brock Purdy. And not having Christian McCaffrey as one of your safety valves didn't help either. He finally got Brandon Ayuk involved in the offense, and what was I thought was going to be the game-winning drive, but as mentioned, Jake Moody missed from 41 yards out. Now the 49ers have to lick their wounds and go to Minnesota. The best part about that is they get an extra day to do it. They get an extra day to do it. 20-14 is 19-17. I beg your pardon. Is the final score of that contest. And I said that there were no more undefeateds. I'll touch on this for a couple of minutes, but then I will see the floor to Ryan McCoffey, who will touch on this even more. I thought for sure yesterday that since the 49ers lost and the Eagles played late, I was playing Fly Eagles Fly all afternoon. Because I thought, okay, the Niners lost. I'll drop them in the rankings, and rightfully so. I still might. But then this happened. The Eagles lost to the New York Jets, and the same thing that hurt the 49ers hurt the Eagles, an interception. An interception led to a touchdown run by Breece Hall. The 2-point conversion is good. And the final score, Jets 20, Eagles 14. The Eagles, even though they were 5-0 coming into this, have been living on the edge all season long. And finally, they got burned. They got burned by a Jets defense that is coming together. A Jets defense that played with some heart, man. That Jets defense played with a lot more heart. That Jets defense played with a lot of heart, and the offense made the right plays at the right time. They made the right plays at the right time, and wouldn't you know it, the Jets beat the Eagles 20-14, and there are no more undefeateds in the NFL. Now, with the Eagles going down, I had a lot of messages waiting for me this morning, which says, okay, Homer, where are you putting your 49ers? You'll have to wait until tomorrow to find that out. You'll have to wait until tomorrow to find that out. And back to the 49ers, Jake Moody missed 2 field goals. He makes either of those, and the Niners walk off. Matter of fact, if they turn that interception into a touchdown, then we're not even having this discussion. But again, kudos to not only the Cleveland Browns, but also the New York Jets for picking up some big wins yesterday. And what that does for the Browns and the Jets is it gives them a lot more confidence. Jets trying to compete in the AFC East, Browns in the AFC Central. Yes, I know it's the AFC North, but doggone it, it's the AFC Central to me. It's the AFC Central to me. And you know something? I hope they continue to have a great season. I do. I hope that the Jets and the Browns really put it together. I hope the Jets and the Browns really put it together. Now I'm about to make y'all laugh because the American League Championship Series started yesterday, and the Texas Rangers defeated the Houston Astros in Game 1 of the ALCS in Houston 2-0. Bryant Culp is in the house with us. He says, smash that like button, everyone. Thank you, Bryant. Thank you, Bryant Culp, very much. Hey, Bryant, do me a favor. I believe the preview link is up for that 49er show on Wednesday. Spread it to every 49er fan you know. And I'll give y'all more on that before we go to break. The Rangers are not playing around. They have yet to lose in the American League playoffs, and they're trying to get back to the World Series for the first time since 2011. The Astros are trying to repeat. Okay? Now, I should be worried about this, but I'm not, because the Astros fell behind against the New York Yankees in 2017, and they wound up winning that series in 7 games. What worries me is the fact that the Astros cannot win at home. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The Astros have had so much trouble. They've had so much trouble at Minute Maid Park this year, and that's strange to say. That's very strange to say. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers before October 31st. I know I got some 180 plus to get, but I believe we can get it done. And if you're looking, if you're watching, be a part of the Snowman Army by joining us on Patreon. Now, back to business here. The Rangers are not playing around. They are simply not playing around. Speaking of not playing around, I have a story that I couldn't believe when I saw it. When I showed it to my wife, she went, "What?" And this plays by CJ. What's going on, my man? Good to have you with us. When I showed this last story before we go to a break to my wife, she went, "What?" And it's this one. And RC, I hope you stick around for the next couple of minutes. It's this one right here. Instead of playing an exhibition game, it's called the Crossover at Kinnick. They played this game at Kinnick Stadium. It's an exhibition game against DePaul, women's basketball. And I love and adore women's basketball. I have adored it since 1982. I hope to get back into it, doing it live next year. I'll do it via studio this year, covering women's hoops all the way to Cleveland, where the Final Four is. But I cannot believe that a record was set at Kinnick Stadium and hardly anybody's talking about it, because 55,246 watched the Iowa Hawkeyes play the DePaul Blue Demons in women's basketball in what is termed the Crossover at Kinnick. If I can help it, I'll find the original broadcast of that game and save it to my computer just to see and to marvel about that. The old record was, and I'm sorry, I'm stuttering. The old record was 20,000 plus. But look at this. No one believes that women's basketball can draw an audience. Let me repeat the number of the attendance at Kinnick Stadium yesterday for the Crossover at Kinnick. 55,246. Were it not for the weather in Iowa City, because it gets cold and it snows, been there for both, I'd say play every game at Kinnick Stadium. But as I said, because of the weather, you can't do that. I mean, hell, Nebraska women's volleyball drew 93,000 at Memorial Stadium. You can't tell me, and this is probably the story. This is the story I'm glad I'm closing with, closing this segment with, I should say. You can't tell me women's sports cannot draw. Not after this. Not after this. I'm willing to guarantee you that if you put the women's Final Four in a stadium that holds over 40,000, they'll blow it up and sell it out. I guarantee it. This should be your proof right here. 55,246 at Kinnick Stadium to watch the crossover at Kinnick. I wish I was there inside the press box covering this. Caitlin Clark had 34 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. And yeah, RC, the crowd knows the crossover at Kinnick is knows Caitlin Clark is a spectacle. But I love the whole team program as well. Matter of fact, RC, if all goes well, Iowa will be the team that I cover all the way through. All right? If you try to tell me that women's sports does not and cannot sell out, as Ray says best, and for those of you listening on radio, look at the screen, son. Look at the screen. 55,246 for an exhibition game against DePaul at Kinnick Stadium. Let me repeat that number one more time. 55,246. Not 5,246. 55,246 at Kinnick Stadium. Don't tell me that women's sports cannot sell. It just needs the right set of marketing. And I will be the one I will be one of the few to carry the torch. Matter of fact, my buddy Victor is here. My buddy Victor is here. My wonderful producer from Chicago. Victor, I want you to put this on the docket, on the Snowman Multimedia docket, and listen to me carefully. I will be here in studio covering women's college basketball on a weekly basis, and I'm looking at 2 nights a week to do it. I said it, I mean it, and I will keep that schedule. Whew. All right. Now that I got all that out of the way, and I mean every word of that. Don't forget this Wednesday, the Eagles Elite Podcast, where they wrap up the game against the Jets. That's at 8. And then I'll follow with that 49ers show at 9, where I wrap up the Niners loss against the Cleveland Browns. In the meantime, before we go to break, remember this.
Bro, you walk through this office building every day. You know what the fire alarm look like. I don't want to hear that.
Oh my
is wrong? Like you got. I wish you had that button right now.
Got me
with this bull. You got a motherfucker thinking from New York can't read. Don't know red means fire alarm. Like you seen it says don't pull or pull in case of emergency. There was no emergency. Like oh my God.
Keep
cooking.
No,
because this dude is really a yo.
Keep cooking.
I'm wondering why you brought this up, man. Like this is not news. This is not news. This is some stupid trying to make a power play, and he came out looking like a dumb. This is all that is. Let me try to delay this when I'm late. Negro, you need to speed up your watch or something, or put your alarm set so you can leave 20 minutes earlier. I don't know, but pull a fire alarm. You were just giving New Yorkers a bad name with this dumb, stupid. Like, really? Oh my gosh.
The legendary Wise with that rant on mentality, a program you can see on the Snowman Multimedia YouTube channel, and you can hear on Snowman Multimedia Sports Radio 5 nights a week at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. The fastest hour in Man Talk and the funniest hour in Man Talk. Thank you, Wise, and thank you, Cole Johnson. Love you both, brothers. Back after this.
Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying, but this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Poppy J and Wise El Jefe. Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to this Manic Monday edition of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. And RC with Hoop says it's because it's plenty of hoopers in women's college basketball. It's just Caitlin is the top of the class. Yep, on the court. But so many great players. Who cares if they're not dunking the rock? I love women's basketball, and I have since 1982 when I got introduced to the women's Final Four. And I plan to cover women's hoops all the way through to the Final Four, which is in Cleveland this year. I would make a joke, but I'm not going to. I don't have time. But we got time for this. Here he is celebrating Victory Monday. Can you believe it? Yes, I can, because I watched it happen. Ryan McCarthy, a.k.a. Ryan McCarthy, joining us on the Invader Coffee guest line. Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Good morning. It's victory. It is Victory Monday indeed, for sure.
How are you feeling about that, man? What a game. What a game.
It's been a roller coaster of emotions for the past 6 weeks. I'm so happy it's a bye week next week.
Yeah. Y'all finally get to rest.
Oh, for sure.
Y'all finally get to rest. Big win for the Jets over the Eagles, 20-14. I'll see the floor to you for your thoughts.
This team, I have to bring up
matter of fact, let me do this. I'm going to give him the camera. All yours.
Aw, thank you. So I caught a clip of Laken Tomlinson yesterday after the game. He was very emotional about this team. He says, I'm going to quote here. It's from Jets videos / himself. It says, this team, man, this is such a special team. The guys fight for everyone. We all love each other. I love everybody here, man. Close quote. And he even got choked up while he was saying this. And I should have forwarded the clip to Snowman before going on, but you can see it for yourself at Jets videos on Twitter. But you can tell this team fights for one another. Even the guys who are injured. Sauce Gardner was a late scratch on Saturday because he was found out he had a concussion. Mm-hmm. And you had two of your top corners out. It's Reed is out. DJ Reed, he's been out the last couple of weeks with a concussion. Now Sauce Gardner goes out with a concussion. So now you got a skeleton crew in your secondary. And man, this defense and this team overall. I mean, you can see the development Zach Wilson has seen before your very eyes, which I never. You would never hear me 4 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago? What was I saying? We don't believe in Zach Wilson anymore.
We don't believe in Zach Wilson. Yeah.
Now I believe. Now I have to believe because this kid has been developing before very fast. He's growing up real fast, and I am super. I mean, think about this yesterday. The Eagles had their opportunities to create turnovers. Their defensive. I gotta give full credit to the defensive line. The defense period, because they were the same way as the Jets. They were missing some of their defensive starters yesterday too, and they played a really effective game. I talked to I sent a text message to my buddy Jared from Corner Booth podcast.
Right,
he's a huge Eagles fan, and I said, "Hey, great game yesterday. Gotta give full credit to your defense, especially that DL. They were giving Zach Wilson all sorts of trouble yesterday, and the running game too. They couldn't get the running game. The Jets couldn't seem to get the run game going." Because Eagles have a really good run defense. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but
yeah.
But it's coming to the point in Zach Wilson's development that when he throws the ball and it looks like it's going to be a 50-50 ball, or it looks like it's going to be overthrown, you're not holding your breath anymore. You're not going, oh no, what's going to happen next?
And you're not wondering where the ball's going to go because he seems so decisive. That the word you said 3 weeks ago in saying we don't believe in Zach Wilson is that I remember you saying he is not decisive with his throws. That has changed.
Yeah, it's changed, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he was thrown into the fire after Aaron Rodgers went down after only 75 seconds. And also Garrett Wilson went out for a couple plays yesterday because he caught his foot on the turf at MetLife Stadium, and he is the first Jet to come out this year and say that turf at MetLife Stadium is garbage. I mean, that's part of the reason why Aaron Rodgers is out this year, because he caught his foot in the turf and he couldn't get it together. So I'm really proud of this team. I said this back in April, actually back in June when I took over for your time slot for the Brian Snow show. Yeah. I got asked what's your prospect for the Jets? What's your prognosis for the Jets? Are they a playoff team? Are they not? And I said, look, if the Jets are at 500 or a game above 500 before they get to the bye week, they have a very good chance of going to the playoffs. And right now they're sitting at 3-3. Depth is stepping up at secondary, at offensive line, and this team is just playing for each other. They believe in each other. The coach believes in them. The coach believes in them. The players believe in themselves. They're set up really well defensively. Look. The Jets faced both Super Bowl teams from last year in a span of 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You know guess how many points collectively they allowed in the second half in both those games? 3.
No. 3.
Because they pitched a shutout in the second half yesterday against the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Eagles have a great offense.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you held them to 14 points.
And the 14 points in the first half, which they need to get off the blocks faster offense. Come on. But if there's a one complaint that I have about this Jets team right now, it's that they need to get out of offensively. They need to get out of the blocks earlier. Mm-hmm. But they have the chance to do that in the next 4 weeks. You got the Giants, which is it's considered an away game, but it's a home game too. You got the Chargers on Sunday night coming up. You got the Raiders on Sunday night the following week, and then you play the Bills. You go to Buffalo to play a Bills team that is they're wobbly. They're wobbly right now. Yeah, they had a great performance against Miami. The last 2 games they've struggled. They were against the Giants yesterday. Against the Giants who are beat up too. Mm-hmm. So they have a chance to go on a run.
Yeah, they do.
They have the chance to go on a run. Knocking on wood here. But they have the chance to go on a run. And by the time they face Miami in November, let me just check their schedule real quick because this is real-time research, folks.
Real-time research is what we do.
Real-time research on this program.
Mm-hmm.
By the time they face the Dolphins on Black Friday, they could be 7-3.
They really could
be 7-3. And in playoff contention.
I need to do something for you, because at the top of the season, I revealed this notebook, and I made a bet to myself that it would remain empty. And in the immortal words of one Ron White, that's profiling.
And profile is wrong.
I happily give this to you, sir. Here's your first one right there.
Thank you.
And I specifically made it green, when you have so many reasons. That I made the joke on the air that I would go out and buy a green notebook. My wife, my beautiful Jody, saw this and immediately made the connection. She says, okay, who's the Jets fan in your crew? I said, Ryan McCoffey. And she says, how many pages are in the notebook? I said about 70. And she opened her mouth. God love her. And she says, you're going to use half of that notebook, right? And I started laughing. I said, you know what? For that reason alone, I'll use half of the notebook to hand them receipts. And you always said, after the Aaron Rodgers deal finally went down, you said, you said you said buy the Jets but keep the receipts.
Buy in on the Jets but keep the receipt.
Yeah, you buy in the Jets but you're keeping the receipts. Well, there's your first one. And I picked 2 reasons I handed out that receipt. 1, the Jets played a hell of a game, and 2, I picked the Eagles to win that game. And a bonus reason, I kept this just in case I would be handing you receipts. Because once again, in the immortal words of Ron White, after I picked the Eagles to beat the Jets, matter of fact, we all did. It was unanimous because Victor was with us as our guest picker. And I want you to be our guest picker one of these weeks, man.
Vicola.
I went to Victor when we taped our picks. I went to Victor. Victor's like, really? But again, to borrow from Ron White, and y'all know I love the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, that's profiling. And profiling is wrong. So those are why I'm giving receipts this morning. And I love it. Speaking of football,
yeah,
the CFL is winding down.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks left.
We got 2 weeks. Can you believe it? 2 weeks left in the
No,
CFL
we're already here.
season. Yeah. The Argonauts are in. The Blue Bombers are in. The Lions are in.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have 3 weeks left. I'm sorry.
3 weeks left.
No, it's 2. No, it's 2. Never mind.
They just finished week 19. Okay, who has surprised you in the CFL this year?
I think BC and the BC Lions and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers finding out who's going to win the West, because I thought at the beginning of the season Winnipeg's going to be the top of the West until somebody knocks them off.
Yeah, Winnipeg.
Until somebody said,
Winnipeg
"All right, yeah, Winnipeg was a team," and all of a sudden you see your BC Lions coming around the corner, and
that was my upset pick, because I've been a Lions
head-to-head.
I've been a Lions fan and a Blue Bombers fan forever, as long as I started watching the CFL. But I specifically picked the Lions this year to upset the Blue Bombers, which A, takes a hell of a trick because we're talking about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers here, and B, the Lions are without the remarkable Rourke, who's in Jacksonville, but Vernon Adams has stepped up and has done the job. And you find the Lions a half a game behind Winnipeg. Winnipeg 12-4, BC 12-5.
Yeah.
Has this race been surprising to you this year to find out who's going to walk away with the West and a bye week, I believe?
Yeah, I mean, technically, with the CFL, they're taking the page out of hockey because it's a Canadian Football League, so they go based by a point system. But Winnipeg is up because they have less losses and less games than BC does in 17.
Right.
So exactly. Winnipeg had their bye week this past week.
Yep.
And they got Edmonton at home this coming Saturday, and then they're at Calgary on Friday, the next Friday.
Right.
Those are 2 winnable games. Calgary's been up and down all season long. Saskatchewan had the chance to end their season on Friday, but they didn't. So it's going to be interesting coming down to the wire for and BC's with them. BC, they play their last game. They're at home against Calgary on Friday, so they have a chance. If they have a chance to try to strengthen their hold, because in the divisions with the divisions the way they are, the top seed has a bye week going into the playoffs.
Right.
They have an automatic home game, which on this year they switched it up. The semis and the finals, division semi and the finals, they're on a Saturday this year. They're not on Sundays.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think they wanted to compete with the NFL on those days.
They did switch it up. So now not only they're competing with our like late Saturday games. Wow. Late Saturday college football games. Wow.
Yeah. So
I may have to call you. We may have to do one of those.
We may have to do it. We have to do an alternate play-by-play in one of those games.
We may have to. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do both of them.
Let's go.
Let's do both of them. I'll put it in the calendar. Make sure my wife knows. Okay, y'all heard it here.
Saturday the 4th and Saturday the 11th.
Yep.
Alternative play-by-play.
The 4th and the 11th. Alternative play-by-play with Ryan McCoffey and myself covering the CFL. Let's do it.
Yeah,
let's put it in the book. Let's put it in the book, and I'm putting it in the book right now. And I'm also putting it on my Google Calendar so my wife will know the times and everything. I am texting my boss. Y'all see that this is happening live here. I'm texting my boss, to let her know, hey, I got some alternative play-by-play that I'm doing here. Oh man,
and the boss being Dr. K, I presume.
Well, she's the boss here in the house.
Yes.
Okay, my boss at work is who I'm texting also. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Dr. K doesn't mind. And speaking of Dr. K, there is a possibility, and y'all, I'm gonna shock the daylights out of y'all with this. And I talked about this yesterday during my 49ers coverage. There is a possibility next week that Dr. K will join me when we cover the Colts and the Browns next Sunday afternoon.
Dun dun dun. Wait, do it again with the actual sound effect.
Wait, all right, hold on a minute.
Wait, let me. I got it.
Because y'all know wait a minute. Because y'all know I'm gonna cut the daylights out of this and make a short out of this, right? But in all honesty, she did say that she would think about it, and I presented it to her, and she started laughing. Where is it? Okay, I am ready. Now,
all right.
Let me try this announcement again. There is a possibility that next Sunday afternoon, Dr. K will join me as the Colts host the Browns at Lucas Oil Stadium for some alternative play-by-play coverage. Yeah, Dr. K will join me.
Wait, a female on alternative play-by-play coverage? Oh my.
The beautiful part is that she's already been in the booth with me back in 2018 when I was covering high school football. So she knows my look. There are some days I can honestly tell y'all she knows my operation better than I do, especially with all the medicine I'm taking and me still getting out of the chemo fog, because lately I've had to deal with that. Wait, Victor gets in on the phone. He says, wait, we would be blessed by Dr. K. She said she would let me know, but there is a strong possibility that she will join me next Sunday. So I may be busy doing 2 games. No, I'm doing 1 game on Sunday, which is the Colts and the Browns, and then Monday night I have the 49ers and the Vikings. So that is that splits the coverage, and everything is moving around like crazy. So yeah, I mean, I find myself as busy as the playmaker sometimes with all the stuff I'm putting together, but I am so blessed with my wife helping me keep my schedule together, as well as me keeping my head on straight with everything that's going on. A couple of minutes before we go to a break, and I had someone ask me a few months ago before I came back on from the break how much basketball I will do this year, because I'm not on site. I'm still strengthening my body. I'm still getting it back into optimum shape before we move west. So I'm doing a lot of basketball in studio with the alternative play-by-play. And again, Dr. K is my hero. She told me to write my schedule down. Well, I did that. Using 2 of these, and I'm still not ready. Especially with what I talked about this morning with women's basketball. Because
God, Snowman. That's 2 notebooks.
Victor, will you tell him? Victor's my longtime engineer. Victor, will you tell him how many notebooks I go through every basketball season? Because Victor's been my engineer for 18 years now. And for a while, he used to bring me the notebooks, clean ones. And we would just sit down and write notes and write a possible schedule. This is when we were at Chicago State and covering high school basketball at the same time. Yeah. By the time we got done with our scheduling session, A, 3 hours had passed. B, someone brought us lunch. And C, my boss, John Kalidas, would come into the editing studio, look at Victor, look at me, and he goes, I know y'all are not done yet. No. He would turn around and walk out. And then when we get finished, I finally come to him, Victor, and I finally come to John. And I said, John, we have our schedule. He would just look at me and go, "Are you sure?" I look at Victor and he looks at me and we go, no.
Really? No.
It would take, we thought we would get it done in a day. Usually it takes us a week. All right. And 2 weeks later, the season will start. Then we get all our permissions in place. We get the equipment that we need. I was the only one that was allowed to travel on the road because of the budget. But if we were at home in Chicago, Victor's there with me. There was one night or one weekend, 2008, as a matter of fact, in a 3-day stretch, I did 5 games.
Oof.
In a 3-day stretch, I did 5 games. 2 men's games, a women's game, and then 2 high school games in 3 days.
Wow.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thursday, I did Chicago State at Northern Iowa. Drove to Northern Iowa from Gary, Indiana. I was living in Gary at the time. I drove, and I was heavier than this, so my medicine was out of control. My medicine was completely out of control. I didn't know what the hell was wrong with me. I didn't care. I love doing games. Now I got a better sense of my health since cancer tried to get me, and I kicked it in the ass.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I drove to Cedar Falls, and this is the funniest story ever, and I hope to have Gary Reimer on soon. I drove to Cedar Falls, but I was so tired. I went into the McLeod Center, into the student center, and I sat at one of the computers, and I said, "Okay, I'm going to type the rest of my notes, get access to print them, and I'll be okay." Nope. I sat in that chair and I went right to sleep. I went right to sleep. And this sharp-dressed man comes in and he says, "I'm looking for the voice of the Cougars." And I immediately sit up. I turn and look at him and I go, "You found him." And he says, "I want to tape an interview with you for my pregame show." "You're on." Tape the interview, and Gary has been one of my best friends since. I love that man. Gary Reimer, longtime voice of the University of Northern Iowa. Then I drove my friend Corey home, who was the SID. I drove home, and by the time I got home, it was 6 a.m. in the morning. Passed out, woke up next day, Friday, and I had to do 2 games, 2 high school games, one at 3:00 and one at 7:00.
Mm-hmm.
Victor calls me and he goes, "You know, you have 2 games today, right?" And I'm half asleep. "Yes, I know." I got through both of those games, and I was sitting here, and you've done alternative, you've done play-by-play. I was sitting at the game, sharp as a whip, and I was ready. And by the time the third quarter hit, I was like this. Victor pinches me on the shoulders. He's like, "Come on, you got another half to do." And this is during the late game. Got done with that, went home, passed out, woke up the next day, did a men's game in Hoffman Estates, which was a 90-minute drive. And then from there, flew back to Chicago to do a women's game, did that, went home, put a sign on my apartment door, "Do not disturb." And I slept for the next 2 days. The only person that was allowed to call me the only people that were allowed to call me at the time were Victor and my mother. Everybody else got the voicemail.
Yep.
Because I didn't know if my mom needed anything, which it turns out she didn't. Matter of fact, the only time Mom called me during my hibernation, "You need some groceries. Come get them." "What?" "You need some groceries. Come get them." Drive to Mom's house, and Mom loaded my trunk with about $200 worth of stuff.
Wow.
I miss you, Mom. Yeah. 5 after
Hi,
the hour.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Oh, man. 5 after the hour. Ran a little over on Coffee with McCarthy, but we love having you, brother. And I know you got to go. Thank you so much, my man. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Victory Monday tonight at 8:30 Eastern Time, and regular no credentials required this Wednesday at 8 p.m. We'll be wrapping up the week in NFL. I'm looking forward to the next week.
All right, we'll tune in. I will definitely tune in to them both. And plus, Ryan and I will have the CFL semifinals and maybe the Grey Cup. We'll put it all together for you. Thank you, my man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Snowman.
In case you missed it, I'll have the call of the day and then the second half of Snowman in the Morning. Back after this.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Poppy J and Wise El Jefe. Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
I wasn't prepared, so I got to take a longer break because my dog's looking at me here. Let me take 3 minutes, take care of her, and the second half of Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson will begin after this.
Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
He was only 58 years old when he passed away. That outcome could have been different.
Colorado happens to be one of the worst states for radon levels.
It's in our ground, and it seeps up.
The more you breathe radon, the more chance you have of DNA being hit and the cell mutated. The EPA estimates 22,000 lung cancer deaths a year caused by radon.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Have fun. Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Mister? How do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Boy, oh boy. 11 after the hour. Welcome back to Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Sorry, I'm out of breath. Had a few things to do here around the house, including take care of my little Lucy. Y'all know who Lucy is. Now, whew, okay. Let me get resituated here. Hold on a minute. Okay. Now I'm resituated. Now I'm ready. Okay. Who the hell gave Shannon Sharpe a microphone? I have a reason I'm asking that question. Because sometimes he knows what he's talking about. Don't get it wrong. Sometimes he knows what he's talking about. But sometimes he just says the stupidest things. Why am I bringing this up? Because Shannon Sharpe, in his latest tirade, let me say this in a way that George Carlin says it. The next sentences I hear, try again, take two. The next sentences I hear is full of things that pissed me off. And they go like this, courtesy of First Take.
Oh, so he started his career known as Mr. Irrelevant after being the last pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, but he's been playing like an MVP. Brock Purdy led the Niners to a 5-0 start this season, throwing for a little over 1,200 yards, 9 TDs. In fact, the Niners offense as a whole has been explosive. Let me break it down for you. They've scored 30 points in all 5 games this season. They're the 6th team in the NFL history to do that. 4 of the previous 5 went on to reach the Super Bowl. Also, worth noting that San Fran leads the league in scoring defense this year. Shannon, here's what I need to know, okay? This is what I need to know, because this story is unbelievable. It should be a 30 for 30. Mr. Irrelevant to what he's doing now, a good shot at the Super Bowl. But is he really an elite quarterback, or is it just the situation he's in?
No, he's not an elite quarterback. He's a product of the system. It's more credit to Kyle Shanahan and what he's done. He's not, in RC, you'll appreciate this. In the biblical term, the devil told God that Job, the reason why he serves you is because you give everything to him. He said if you remove that hedge from around him, he will curse his very maker.
He'll curse you.
He said you can take everything but his life.
took his kid, took his sheep, took all that. Joe was still faithful.
Never cursed him.
I'm not so sure that if we remove Debo, we remove Kyle Shanahan, we removed Ayuk, we would still see this Brock Purdy. He's a product of the system. Now, that's not to take away from what he's doing. It's okay for him to be in the MVP discussion and not be Patrick Mahomes or not be Tua or not be an elite quarterback. He still has to go out there and operate. He just doesn't have to do as much as, say, those other guys. If I were to put
Really? Really? So you're
switch places and says, okay, you got to go do what Patrick Mahomes does, or you got to go do what one of these other quarterbacks. I'm not so sure Brock Purdy could do that. But in this system, the ability to run the football with Christian McCaffrey and all the weapons, because all he has to do is just not turn it over. Get it in the Ayuk's hand, get it in Debo's hands, get it in Kittle's hands, and let them do the work. But no, he's not elite. No stretch of the imagination is he elite.
Why you raggedy now you piss me off. Shannon Sharp, do me a favor.
Stop the cap.
Please, just
Stop the cap.
I mean, before I go completely off, let me hear that. Let me let y'all hear that again, courtesy of Shannon Sharp.
He said if you remove that hedge from around him, he will curse his very maker.
He'll curse you.
He said you can take everything but his life. Took his kid, took his sheep, took all that. Joe was still faithful.
Never cursed him.
I'm not so sure that if we remove Debo, we remove Kyle Shanahan, we removed Ayuk, we would still see this Brock Purdy. He's a product of the system. Now, that's not to take away from what he's doing. It's okay for him to be in the MVP discussion and not be Patrick Mahomes or not be Tua or not be an elite quarterback. He still has to go out there and operate. He just doesn't have to do as much as, say, those other guys. If I were to put him in Patrick Mahomes, if I switch places and says, okay, you got to go do what Patrick Mahomes does, or you got to go do what one of these other quarterbacks, I'm not so sure Brock Purdy could do that.
Oh, you're not, huh? You're not sure Brock Purdy can do that, huh? Excuse me.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by. The host needs to collect himself for a moment or two. Please stand by. The host simply can't believe how people can be such dolts and idiots. Please stand by. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, already in progress.
Now I'm ready. Shannon Sharp, this is for you. Brock Purdy is an elite quarterback, even given what happened yesterday and facing a great defense. Get the hell over it. All right? He wasn't even supposed to be in this situation. Hell, every other team and every other round passed on him, but Kyle Shanahan took a chance. As it turns out, he's making the most of it. Product of the system, you're partially right. But Brock Purdy is a damn good quarterback. Get the hell over it. Get over it. If Brock Purdy is a product of the system, then so is John Elway. So is Trent Dilfer. So is Dan Marino. So is Peyton Manning. Hell, so is Tom Brady. But they all turned out to be elite quarterbacks, you fool. They took the system and ran with it. Hell, for that matter, two of the best were, if you want to talk about products of the system, two of the greatest were products of the system. That's Joe Montana and Steve Young. But they added something to it, you stupid idiot. They added a lot to it. And I know there are people, including Seriously Larry, love you, brother, that say, I need to see a bigger sample size. How much more of a sample size do you need? All right? He suffered his first regular season loss. Okay, big freaking deal. Just some things to clean up before we go beat the hell out of Kirk 2 Chainz Cousins in Minnesota. And Purdy reestablishes who he is. So we got a challenge. Doesn't all the greatest get challenges? And do they not all rise from it? Hell, I even said Tua's not an elite quarterback, but he's starting to prove me wrong. I hope he continues to prove me wrong, and I hope he gets better. Fins up, Pizzle. I want to see great quarterback play, and Brock Purdy is providing that. Shannon Sharp, you idiot. What the hell more do you need to see? Doesn't every elite quarterback have great weapons around him? You fool. I'll repeat the question. Doesn't every great all-time quarterback have weapons around him? Hell, Montana wouldn't be Montana without Dwight Clark or Jerry Rice or John Taylor or Roger Craig. Steve Young wouldn't be Steve Young without Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Ricky Waters, and William Floyd. Not to mention both of those quarterbacks had a tight end named Brent Jones. John Elway wouldn't be John Elway without you. You were his security blanket, you idiot. Then Terrell Davis comes along. Then Rod Smith comes along. Eazy-E Ed McCaffrey comes along. That offensive line. All right, what do you think about that? Every great quarterback had weapons around him to use. Dan Marino had the Marx brothers, Mark Super Duper and Mark Clayton. Not to mention he had Tony Nathan and Woody Bennett. Not to mention he had an offensive line that kept blocking for him. Peyton Manning had Reggie Wayne on one side and Marvin Harrison on the other. What the hell's wrong with that? I'll say it again. Every great quarterback, if you want to call Brock Purdy a product of the system, then every great quarterback is a product of the system that they developed. Hell, every team in the NFL now runs a version of the West Coast offense, and that's in tribute to the godfather of the West Coast offense, which the Broncos ran, mind you, Shannon Sharp, the late, great Bill Walsh, who invented the West Coast offense. Give me this button. But to call Brock Purdy a product of the system, you, and I repeat, you. Every great quarterback was a product of a system. And every system now in the NFL is a version of something that Bill Walsh invented in 1979. It's called the West Coast offense, which is predicated on running the football, but also predicated on the quarterback who's smart enough to make the right decisions, you idiot. John Elway, with you in tow, Shannon Sharp, was a product of the system invented by Bill Walsh and coached by, I don't know, Mike Shanahan. How do you like them apples? But to say Brock Purdy is not elite just because you don't have the sample size that you want, this is not directed toward you, Serious Larry. This is directed toward Shannon Sharp. Even with everything that you saw and how Brock Purdy is getting better, you're saying he's not an elite quarterback? Well, you know something? Give me this button. Hey! You, and you. The way you sound about Brock Purdy is the way you sound about Stephen Curry. Now, you and take your opinion and go to. That's Snowman's take. What's yours? I feel better now. Kind of, sort of. We'll dip inside the feedback zone, and then we'll come back with Jay Spivey after this.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Pick'ems. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying, but this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Bobby J and Wise El Jefe, Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Phew. Okay, Larry got mad at me. I get to pick on Larry now. Larry says, that sounds like thin-skinned homerism. Sorry, Snowman. If Purdy continues the way he has, everyone will acknowledge that your guy is elite. I'm acknowledging that now. I'm saying I told you so right now. I said the same thing about Stephen Curry in 2009. And like I said, this is the only time I get to pick on Larry because I haven't done a baseball stream in a while. And Larry's here every morning. I love him. Love you, brother. Love you, brother, so much. Sick Diggy notes. Hey, come here. Doggone. Troy Aikman had Michael Irvin, Alvin Harper, Jay Novacek, Emmett Smith, and Darryl the Moose Johnston. True. I don't think anyone has Purdy as a top 10 quarterback just yet. No, but he's getting there. He's getting there. What I attacked was Shannon Sharp's statement of a quarterback being a product of the system. Has he started a full season's worth of games? No. And every piece of success that Purdy has had now, I acknowledge can turn on a dime. Colin Kaepernick, hello. All right, I acknowledge that. Alex Smith, hello. It can turn on it can turn on a dime. It can turn on a dime, and I know that. I realize that, and I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that fully. What I'm saying is, if Brock Purdy is a part of is a product, beg your pardon, of a system, then every great quarterback was a product of the system also, including Doug Williams. The only black quarterback to not only win the Super Bowl, but win the Super Bowl MVP. Well, actually, first one. Second one's Patrick Mahomes, and he did it twice. And he did it twice. That's what I was attacking, Larry. That is what I was attacking. I was also giving examples of his statement. Quarterbacks being product of a system, including John Elway. Because remember, John Elway was a part of two systems. Dan Reeves, which led him to the Super Bowl, and Mike Shanahan, which led him to Super Bowl victories, 32 and 33. That is what I was going after. That is what I was going after. Not the fact that Purdy hasn't started a full season's worth of games. No, he started 11. 17 is the mark. Oh, excuse me. You can include the playoffs, but it still wouldn't give him the 17. Okay. That is what I was attacking. His statement of Purdy is not elite, but he was a product of the system. If that's the case, and I'll say it again, if that's the case, all elite quarterbacks were products of a system. Is he really top 10 yet? No. Is he getting there? Fast. Very, very fast. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'll have more on this on Wednesday. I'll have more of this on Wednesday. All right. While we got a few minutes, the league championship series have started. And yes, Ryan McCoffey, where is it? A black man talking baseball? You better doggone believe I am. Astros are down 1-0 in the American League Championship Series, and the National League Championship Series begins tonight. The National League Championship Series begins tonight. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the man, no myth, all legend, my wonderful executive producer, Mr. Cole Johnson. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry now? What'd you do?
And the previous Snowman's Take is brought to you by...
You an idiot. I love you, but you a doggone idiot. Let me tell you how much of an idiot one of my best friends who is on camera, who is on air with me every day is. When I knew you had some time yesterday, and I saw the thumbnail that you put up not only for that 49er show, but also today's show, and I love that. I went back and took a second look at that thumbnail. I read the title, double whammy, and I already come here. I already had the sound in mind. But then I went and looked back at the thumbnail, and you had that whammy right there. Jody comes by and looks at that and starts laughing, and all she says is, Cole's an idiot. And I must have sat here and laughed for 10 minutes. Because before I even said it, you were in my head.
I was like, okay, so I got a picture for the 49ers Browns game, got a picture from the Eagles Jets game. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
And that's like, okay, so I said one more title thumbnail, double whammy. Okay, that's cool. Got it. Okay. And then right when I fused the two pictures together,
yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, get a whammy.
And you got the right one too. You got the right one with his arms raised up and a big smile in his face. You got the right one.
Yeah.
Oh my heavens! I still laugh at that. Oh gosh. All right, we got some Spivey notes to get to while I'm recovering from laughing my head off at that thumbnail. Best one you created since I appointed you EP of the show. Best one.
All right, I remember that. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Spivey now joins us on the Invader Coffee guest line. Good morning, Jay. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. Better than Bryce Young, but good.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to start with a note that I talked about earlier that will please Jay because he's a big fan of women's college hoops just as I am. 55,246.
Talk about this.
Well, you know, the sad part about it was I didn't even know, I keep up with sports. I'm sure you guys do the same. Yes. I didn't know a thing about this until halftime yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Not a thing about it. They didn't promote it at all.
No, it wasn't promoted.
A friend of mine called me and said that it was on. I was like, where is it? So I flipped around the channel. And I finally found it on the Big Ten Network. And then they still have 55,000 people there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's wonderful. I really do.
Let me say that number again. I talked about it this morning briefly. 55,246. All right.
At a see the Iowa women's basketball
game. So just look at what the Big Ten's done in the less than 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
With Nebraska playing that volleyball game.
93,000. Yeah.
And now Iowa playing this women's college basketball game.
With almost 56,000.
Why can't other conferences do something similar?
Because they're too scared.
Yeah, they are. You're right.
They are.
You're right.
They are.
Because they're too scared. Iowa's not scared. Nebraska's not scared. Hell, I expect it to happen in Chicago sometime soon. If you could put 60,000 in Soldier Field for an NHL game, which I was there for, and I got a foot of snow on me that night, but had one of the greatest times of my life.
Sanderici could do the same thing for a college hockey game. Yeah,
you know where I'm going, and you know where I'm going. Okay, why can't they do this for the women's Final Four?
Well, I think we've outlived their playing in regular coliseums or arenas. I mean, that's for sure.
I was going to say this.
There's no need for them to play in these 15,000 seat arenas they've been playing in.
I was going to say this to you, gentlemen. I think, obviously, Iowa packing their football stadium to prove that they are draw. Combined with when you go back 6 months ago and you see that their Final Four dwarfed the men's Final Four on TV. Oh yeah, that definitely should tell you that they should move the women's Final Four to stadiums.
If you got a player like Caitlin Clark or any other star, any other women's college team has ever had,
yeah,
you got to promote her. You have to.
You must promote her. Yes, you must promote her.
Not only her.
I go back to however long it's been since Elena Deladon played at Delaware.
Yeah,
when she was by far the best player they've ever had there. And their coach refused to go on TV to play these national games like Gino Ariam or Pat Summitt or Mulkey or Don Staley or whomever else it might be. That all these other programs do. Well, she refused. She's now fired. The Delaware is a shell of its former self, and that's all because she didn't promote the program.
Right
there, it is.
So, if you can promote a matchup in the championship game, which they somewhat, and I say somewhat because they could do a lot better than having the games behind a doggone paywall.
Yes,
they can. I had so many people say to me, why don't they have this on network television? I'll tell you exactly why they have it on network television, because ESPN outbid them with dirty money.
Yeah.
ESPN outbid CBS because remember, CBS had the women's tournament all to themselves. Two problems with that. Number one, they wouldn't spend the money for the coverage until the Elite Eight. That's one. And two, the timing. And I'm talking about them playing at 3 p.m. on a Sunday.
Don't get me started on that.
Well, look what they're doing right now.
Don't get me started on that.
I mean, why? Two of the first 3 WNBA finals games have been on Sunday at 3:00. Who's going to watch that?
Right.
Who's going to watch that?
And I will include the question that I asked before, and we talked about this before, gentlemen. Why are they putting it behind the paywall?
That's dumb. It's idiotic.
Because ESPN, as much as we're so used to it,
they're hungry for money.
It's a paywall.
They're hungry for money.
Yep.
That's why it's behind the paywall. They're hungry for money. And it's a shame. It's a shame that it's a shame that it is behind the paywall because it would lend the not you, not Jay, not me, and not many in the Fanatics Feedback Zone, but it would lend itself to the average sports fan to actually say, and we've heard these dumb takes too. Well, this proves that women's basketball is not as good of a brand as the men, because obviously people don't want to see it.
Go back to the Women's College World Series last however many years it's been. Look at how great the ratings have been for ESPN.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, it's so popular, and it's fun to watch. It really is.
I've watched it.
It is.
I've watched it, and I'm going to add it to our. I'm going to add it to our coverage. It's just going to depend on timing, as I said earlier. As I said earlier in the show. But you're going to tell me that a crowd of 55,246 is put behind a paywall for people to watch? For people to watch it, that's all cable TV is. It's a doggone paywall.
Yeah.
That's part A. Part B. Now everything is being streamed, and you can just pay like what $4 or $5 a month.
Right.
But I mean, you are right. But I will give the Big Ten Network credit for doing these type shows they've been doing.
Same.
And that's exactly why they're in such a better position than the ACC is.
And the ACC is screwed.
Well, ACC is almost sunk. They're almost sunk.
It really
is.
is.
The ACC and the Pac-10 are sunk.
Well, Pac-12 is sunk, but the ACC is almost there.
Yep.
And it's a shame to watch it. It's a shame to watch it.
You gotta have people with guts enough to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is what I love about what the Big Ten is doing. They're seeing what the SEC has done, and it's like, okay, well let's take what they did and let's flip it on its ear. Let's do something that they're not doing.
Well, because the NCAA won't allow these games really to be televised, they had to get permission for the NCAA to show this yesterday, and thankfully they did it only because it was for charity. Well, of course, that went for a great cause yesterday. Well, I don't know what they charged for admission yesterday, but even if it's $10 a person, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. You know how much money you know how much money they brought in just for that game alone? 55,246. 55,000 paid a ticket. Paid for a ticket to sit in Kinnick
Stadium. You can't pay these athletes when you got an athlete like Caitlin Clark. How much do you think Caitlin Clark means to the University of Iowa?
I'll put it like this: she means more to that program than any of the men in any of the sport.
Absolutely,
matter.
Caitlin Clark is the face of the university.
She's the face of the university right now. Yeah,
just like Angel Reese is the face of.
She's face of LSU. Mm-hmm. Not even Kim Mulkey, who's a big time personality herself. Angel Reese is the face of LSU.
Right.
Just like Caitlin Clark is the face of Iowa.
Yep.
And more power to them, girls. More power to them.
Absolutely.
And those two are on another collision course. They love playing against each other. They love playing on the same floor with them. And I'll say it again: those two are on a collision course to meet in Cleveland for another title match. Okay, and no one except us, Cole, you, Victor, Ryan, myself, and Larry and RC have the balls to cover them the way they should be covered, to the point where pending on my schedule, because I get my work schedule today, if all goes right, I'll have game 4 of the WNBA finals because the coverage on ESPN is sorry.
Well,
all right.
Again, I go back to who's going to watch this at 3:00 on Sunday afternoon.
Right.
Exactly.
No. 3:00 on a fall Sunday afternoon.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. During the NFL.
Right.
Nobody's going to watch that.
Nope.
Nobody's going to watch it. I mean, I would have watched it yesterday, but I'm not going to turn off the NFL to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Most won't. And it's not because of them. It's because the NFL is such a big-time conglomerate, and we all grew up loving football. Most of this country has.
Right.
So, yeah, it's This is why it frustrates me when we have these conversations, and I look at the WNBA executives, and I say to them, think better about how you market this product, please. You owe it to the women. You owe it to the women who play in your league to do
they've been
better.
talking about these two teams since April when the draft happened, and the free
Right.
and get free agency with these two super teams. Well, here they are in the finals.
Yes.
And then you showed them at two of the first 3 games are Sunday at 3:00 during the NFL. Now you tell me how that's promoting your product.
Thank you.
Yeah. How?
You're doing your women a huge disservice by doing that.
Yep.
Huge.
Yes.
And they're continuing to do them a huge disservice. Again, I go back to college basketball and how it's covered, and how things are going with that.
Now I don't know. I assume he is. He always does this. Now that Paige Beckers is healthy, thank goodness. Let's hope. Let's see how Gino or Emma promotes her, because she can flat out play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And she was out all last year with a torn ACL. We didn't get to see her play, and that goes for any other women's player who's really good. At any other,
you might see a push.
Going to promote it. He do.
Yeah. Yep.
And I haven't seen their schedule that closely to see, but I guarantee he's playing a lot of big TV games. I know he is.
Oh,
he's done that over the last 2 decades. So he's doing that.
Well, I already declared this morning that I'm going to cover a lot of Iowa women's basketball, along with my hometown Northwestern Wildcats, to see how they do, because I'm very familiar with their program and the coaching and everything there, because I feel that we can provide much better coverage of women's sports, not just women's hoops, but women's sports, than what we're seeing now on the big networks. It just seems like
I'm going to be with this new Big Ten TV deal they just got. I'm going to be interested to see how Fox and CBS and NBC show Caitlin Clark, because all those networks are not really used to covering women's basketball, but you have to in this instance.
Okay,
it's making money. They're gonna have to anyway. Yeah.
Well, they ain't gonna. Well, these big networks ain't gonna like me. I'm saying that. I'm saying that right now, because I have the nerve to cover this sport the way it needs and deserves to be covered. And you said it earlier, Cole. It's all because these big networks are money hungry, and now they feel it's time. Okay, we can put some, and I capitalize that word, some effort into covering women's hoops. I have covered women's hoops since 1996 when I was at Chicago State University. And I was asked even then, and Cole, I spoke to you about this off the air so many times over, and Victor knows this because he's been my engineer for years. I got asked then, why do you show up to these games? No one else does. Because I have a duty to cover them.
Yeah.
I covered Whitney Young High School for 10 seasons.
Because unfortunately, like I said earlier, unfortunately, we have been brainwashed into thinking, well, anything women's athletics, it is much, 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 much inferior to men's athletics.
No.
That's what we've been embedded with understanding through all of our 3 of us around the same ages. I'm sure we heard that crap ever since we were young, and we're still hearing this crap now. And now we are mature adults, and we keep hearing this. And gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong. We're seeing it advertised that way still. Almost 2024. We're still seeing it broadcast and advertised that way. And what I love about you, Jay, is that you get exactly what I'm talking about, because it's sickening to your stomach. Because if they were to spend any time studying any softball, basketball, soccer, and any women's athletics, they would understand. You deal with them, the fundamentals are much better, and the game is much smoother in play than the men's. Hands down.
If you get a high quality women's basketball game, the fundamentals are so much better.
Yeah.
Better.
One of my dreams, and I hope this happens when we do the stadium tour beginning next year, is to see Thompson Bowling Arena with Pat Summitt's signature on it. To see
they still love the Tennessee Lady Vols to this day. They still love her. Love them.
Not only do they love Pat Summitt and the Lady Vols, they revere her.
Well, let's go back to that. How much of an impact do you think Pat Summitt made to Tennessee over 50 years or whatever it was she was there?
Capital H, capital U, capital G, capital E, because I guarantee you, people would not know of University of Tennessee if it weren't for her.
I mean, she's the face of Tennessee, probably.
She is, and will forever be. How big of an impact has Gino Auriemma made coaching women's basketball?
Well, nobody even knew where UConn was before.
Exactly. No one knew where UConn was until Gino Auriemma took over.
Stores, Connecticut, before he showed up.
No one knew who Rebecca Lobo was.
Yeah.
Until the final day. I guarantee you this, Jay. No one knew who the hell Rebecca Lobo was until the final day of the 1995 college season, when they were hoisting the trophy as undefeated champions in Minnesota.
Well, I go back to I can't remember the against that. It was either December 2000 or 2000. Anyway, it was the year that UConn went 39-0, and they had Taurasi and Swin Cash. And
they were loaded. Yeah,
Sue Bird all on the same team.
Stacked.
All on the same team.
Yeah.
Well, they played down. I live in Winston-Salem. They play Wake Forest, which I was going to be a blowout. But I begged and begged and begged to cover it. Now, this is probably, in my opinion, this is the best women's team to ever step on one court. 39-0, they didn't even come close to losing that year. And you got at least two of the best players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, the arena that I went to is probably a little over 14,000 that the game was. I bet it wasn't even a third full because nobody promoted it.
I believe it.
But yet, UConn has this huge traveling media circus that goes with them, and I don't blame them.
Mm-hmm.
They care more about the women than they do the men, and as much success as the men have had.
True.
And I'm with that.
I am too. I'm totally for it.
They're the entity that's bringing the money into the athletically. Is bringing the money into the school.
Mm-hmm.
And if the men were to do the same thing, that's what the university would be doing. They'd be doing the same thing.
Well, South Carolina's doing that with their women instead of the men.
Yep.
Yes. 100. 100. 100.
The only time the women's Final Four was played in a big place was 2002, when the Final
Tacoma
Four
Dome
played at the Alamo Dome.
Yeah,
Alamo Dome.
Antonio.
Well, let's go back to the
attendance record. That attendance was 29,619, and that was the national championship game between Oklahoma and UConn. And I think that's the year Jay was talking about, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
That record stood until Sunday, when 55,246 played at Kinnick Stadium for what was termed an exhibition game. You mean to tell me that if you can put if 29,000 can sit in the Alamo Dome, and I bet you they had that configured to where they can only have 29,000 there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if you saw how they did it yesterday, they only they put the court up against the end zone yesterday.
Yep.
Right.
And they cut it off about the 30 or 40 yard line.
Yep. They did.
So they could, if they put it in the center of the field, they probably could have had 70 or 80,000.
Yeah, and that's what Nebraska did with their girls volleyball.
They have the
women's
whole
volleyball.
stadium available.
Yeah, they put the court right in the center, and that's how they were able to get 90,000+.
Why can't
Yep.
why don't more programs do that? For like have at least one showcase game. To have at least one.
You mean
one showcase game, and I know
you mean like
I know, Cole, you have an answer,
Mhm.
And I'm gonna love your answer, but I'll pose the question again to you, gentlemen. Why don't they have at least one showcase game?
You mean like what happened with when the U of H, talking about the men's side, U of H and UCLA got together in 1968 in the Astrodome, and people were thinking, well, the college game won't be able to draw that many people, and it drew over 50,000 there, and that was the idea that sparked them in thinking, well, maybe we can actually hold our Final Four tournaments and the Final Four championship tournament in a stadium like the size of the Astrodome. Of course, it took 20 years, or not 20. It took about 15 years for them to actually start the ball rolling in that direction. But the ball got rolling there. They don't have the balls to do that with the women's game yet, and they should.
It's like what you talked about earlier, Snowman. They're going to sell out. It doesn't matter who plays in Cleveland. That'll be such a quick sellout, it won't even matter.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's sold out. I wouldn't be surprised if it's sold out now.
The three games in Dallas this past year, like that, the ticket sold out.
Well, it's roughly what 20,000.
It's a 20,000. It's a 20,000 seat arena.
I mean, they're going to sell that out in a heartbeat.
That's what I'm saying. It didn't take. It basically took one breath from you, one breath from Jay, and one breath from Snowman for those three games to be sold out.
I go back to the COVID year when all the women were complaining about the conditions in San Antonio with how they were treated.
And I'm glad they did, because it was horrendous.
It was
horrendous. It was horrendous. The NCAA should be ashamed of themselves. Still, to this day, should be ashamed of themselves.
You know something? I go back,
but they won't own up to it.
And they won't. Exactly.
Hell no, they won't own up to it. I go back to something that Dr. K told me when she heard me get real passionate about a women's game that we were watching together. She turned to me and she said, "Why don't you put more focus on covering women's sports? Because that seems to be your niche." And I can honestly say, gentlemen, after sleeping on it when she said it a few months ago, and she said it to me over the course of the weekend, for the first time in almost 30 years, I found my niche. I found my niche, because I go back so many times with when I was at Lewisburg. When I was covering women's basketball at Lewisburg College in North Carolina. I got the same question, but also got a little more support because no one else wanted to cover them. No one else wanted to cover them. And then I followed the softball team all the way until they got to the national tournament, which cut me off when I asked for what's the word I'm looking for? Credentials.
Credentials, yeah.
And they cut me off at the roots.
Mm-hmm.
They cut me off at the roots, even though I had two officials at Lewisburg College write to them and say, "Look, we need this guy with us because he is our voice."
Mm-hmm.
Nope, nothing doing. Not until I handed over some money, and I wasn't handing over any money. You get the Cole, Jay. You get the idea. And I told Jay this, and Jay got about as mad as I did. Jay I could just see Jay's face when Jay and I were talking. He just in his mind, I'm seeing his face, and he's just going, "Really?" Yeah. I had to actually, that pissed me off, man. that I couldn't follow. And at the time, they had won 24 in a row. 24 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Lewisburg College had won 24 in a row. They won their first game. They lost their second game in 11 innings. They lost their second game in 11 innings. And every parent that was there said to me, we wish you were there to call it win or lose.
Well, I mean, I was asked to be on another show this past Saturday morning to talk. They wanted me to talk about high school football, which I'm more than willing to talk about.
Right.
And I was on there for 30 minutes just answering whatever questions they wanted, because the other guys on there really don't understand high school athletics. I'm not trying to be funny. I mean, that's really true.
It's just a factual thing, yeah.
That's just true. They don't. The usual host of the show was not there, so they had some fill-ins. Well, I said I'm more than happy to talk about football. But he said, "Do you have anything else you'd like to bring up? Because we got 4 minutes left of the show." I said, "Well, I'm going to talk about something y'all never talk about. The girls volleyball team that's ranked #1 in the state is from here. They're 30-0." And I said, "Guys, I know you never talk about girls volleyball, but I'm going to talk about it right here. They're 30-0. They're the #1 team in the state. They never get any exposure. It's time to give them some exposure."
It is.
And I mean, it went right over their head.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And that's the problem. The fact that when you put the gender on it, all of a sudden with many, especially now in the industry in which we work, even now, as advanced in thought as we're supposed to be, and as elevated in the relations between men and women as we supposedly are, you assign the gender to it, it automatically devalues the product to them. Oh, it's not the men doing it. It's the women. It's not the boys. It's the girls. The girls are sitting. I mean, it could, and it doesn't matter if it's volleyball. It doesn't matter if it's basketball. It doesn't matter if it's soccer. It doesn't matter if it's swimming. It all gets devalued, and it should not. And it's unfortunate.
To me, a lot of times it doesn't matter to me how they translate to whatever sport they're playing, whatever field, track, court, or whatever else you're playing on, or pool, or whatever else. To me, it's the story that they had to tell.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm working on a story right now. A girls volleyball player. She's a really, really, really good artist, and she wants to go to one of the elite art programs in the country, Savannah College Art and Design.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this girl's phenomenal, but she's a good volleyball player too. But I mean, art is her passion. So you wouldn't hear that from any other kid.
No.
Like I said, when I lived in Chicago, I covered Whitney Young High School girls basketball, coached by my friend Corey Irvin, for 10 years. 10 years. The only other coverage they got was through the newspaper. Yep. No one else was willing to put the headset on and do play-by-play for them. I worked as a security guard for them, for Whitney Young High School and the Chicago Public Schools. Mm-hmm. I quit after 6 months because I did not like the job when the assistant principal kept putting pressure on me to drop my broadcasts. And finally, I woke up one day in February and I walked into his office and told him I quit. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I told him I can't do it, especially at the time the boys and the girls were playing for state championships.
Mm-hmm.
They were in the midst of their tournament, and by that time, like the assistant principal actually sat me down, and he said, "I'm sorry, I kept pressuring you." And at that time, 2008, guess who else called me? Chicago State University. I come home one day and I said, and I play my voicemail, and he said, "I have an offer for you." I knew that day I had to pursue it. And kudos to the assistant principal at Whitney Young at the time that actually gave me a hug, said, "Sorry I kept putting pressure on you. Sorry I kept overwhelming you. Go chase your dreams." So I covered boys and girls basketball. They both won state championships that year, 2008. And I was back at doing women's basketball at Chicago State, and I did it for 2.5 years until the administration changed and I got booted, which led me to Indiana Northwest and covering their team all the way through a national tournament in 2012. One person can't change the world by finding their niche. Baloney. You're talking to him. And we're out of time. Jay Spivey joining us as he always does every Monday. And Jay, I love you very much. We love you very much. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. And we will talk to you next Monday, my friend.
Guys, I can't tell you how much I enjoy this every week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
All right, have a good week.
Programming note, that 49ers show will come your way Wednesday, but it will be moved to 5 p.m. Eastern time. I'll have everything ready. Then at 8 p.m. Eastern time, we'll start our coverage of Game 4 of the WNBA Finals between the Las Vegas Aces and the New York Liberty. Can they send this to a 5th game? We'll find out from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Till then. I'm going to sock him in the mouth when we get off the air. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you,
they're simply not big enough.
Dream big, do bigger. We hope y'all are too. We're out of here. See you Monday. I'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Bro, you walk through this office building every day. You know what the fire alarm look like. I don't want to hear that.
Oh my
is wrong? Like you got. I wish you had that button right now.
Got me
with this bull. You got a mother thinking from New York can't read. Don't know red means fire alarm. Like you seen it says don't pull or pull in case of emergency. There was no emergency. Like. Oh my God.
Keep
cooking.
Let me calm down.
Because this dude is really a yo.
Keep cooking.
I'm wondering why you even brought this up, man. Like this is not news. This is not news. This is some stupid trying to make a power play, and he came out looking like a dumb. This is all that is. Well, let me try to delay this. I'm late. Negro, you need to speed up your watch or something, or put your alarm set so you can leave 20 minutes earlier. I don't know, but pull a fire alarm. You were just giving New Yorkers a bad name with this dumb, stupid. Like really.